Video games and controversy go together like peanut butter and jelly. It seems like every day we see a new game fall into controversy, whether it's justified like Sony forcing Helldivers 2 players to link a PlayStation account, or even unjustified like in the case of games like Modern Warfare 2 and its No Russian mission. However, what happens when a game actually goes too far? What happens when the game tries to spread a dangerous and garbage ideology and is created by people who support that ideology? Today, I'm going to be talking about the game Ethnic Cleansing. But before we can properly talk about the game, we first need to talk about its creators and the reason behind its inception. Our story begins with a man by the name of William Luther Pierce, founder of an organization called the National Alliance, an organization that participates in white power, neo-Nazism, and has ties to those men in funny white robes. The organization was founded in 1974 after William attended Rice University and obtained a bachelor's degree in physics and a doctorate from the University of Colorado at Boulder in 1963. After his time at Boulder, he became an assistant professor of physics at Oregon State University and stayed there for about 3 years, until he left after he became concerned about the rise of counterculture and the civil rights movement. After he left, he started to grow a fascination towards George Lincoln Rockwell, founder of the American Nazi Party, and fell into his ideology. He began working for him as an editor of the party's ideological journal. A year later, George was assassinated. I wonder why. After all this happened, William decided, you know what? Heck it, I'll start my own organization. Hence, the National Alliance was born. The National Alliance would partake in and have many hate crimes linked to them, like how in 1992 they would publish a comic called New World Order Comics, The Saga of White Will, which was a recruitment tool meant to get children indoctrinated into hate crimes against black people. Or like how in 1995, a man by the name of Timothy McVeigh would be inspired to bomb the Alfred P. Maroa building in Oklahoma City after reading a book named The Turner Diaries, a book that fictionalizes hate crimes and terrorist attacks against oppressed minorities, which just so happened to be written by William Luther Pierce. Or last but not least, in 1997, two National Alliance members named Todd Van Beer and Brian Pickett were caught and charged with robbing 2 banks in Florida and 1 in Connecticut. These are only just a few examples of hate crimes that the National Alliance committed one way or another, but even after all this isn't the most far-fetched thing the National Alliance has done. In 1993, a man by the name of George Birdie, also known as George Eric Hawthorne, would create a music label named Resistance Records, self-proclaimed the soundtrack for white revolution. Resistance would specialize in white power music, and according to the Anti-Defamation League, a group specializing in reporting on anti-defamatory groups, who are also a huge help for this video, said, quote, "The music is loud, fast, and grating. The lyrics preach hatred, violence, and white supremacy." Resistance Records would be a gateway to many different white supremacist musicians and would also catch the eye of the National Alliance. This would cause them to partly buy Resistance for an undisclosed amount in 1999. Also, 2 years prior, in 1997, George Birdie would be arrested after he was evading taxes. The reason why he was evading taxes was because in Canada, where he resided at that time, there were many hate speech laws that made his business illegal to operate. However, George knew this, so he'd purposely put all of his inventory in a rented house in Milford, Michigan, so he could stay under the radar of the feds. But as we all know, the IRS don't fuck around when you ain't paying taxes, so they were able to track down the house where all the inventory was being held and raided it. This would temporarily cause the company to close its doors. But due to their relationship with the National Alliance, they were able to relocate to Hillsborough, West Virginia to continue their operations. The company was then entirely handed off to the National Alliance, where the main subject of this video would be created. On Martin Luther King Day, 2002, the game Ethnic Cleansing would be released on PC. Developed by the National Alliance and published by Resistance Records, the game would retail for $14.88 and would ship on CD-ROMs only available on Resistance's website. Wow, really surprised GameStop didn't pick this one up. I could try and give my own synopsis for the game, but I'm just gonna let Resistance's website do that for me. This is the official synopsis for Ethnic Cleansing. The race war has begun. Your skin is your uniform in this battle for the survival of your kind. The white race depends on you to secure its existence. Your people's enemies surround you in a sea of decay and filth that they have brought to your once clean and white nation. Not one of their members shall be spared. Dot, 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 dot. By the way, on the same page you can also see the massive professionalism of his company. Please note, apparently a few people have been having problems with the setup program. When you try and run it, it says, "Setup is not a valid Win32 application." I don't know how or why. But somehow, during the copying process, some of the copies appear to have been corrupted. I have been trying all morning to figure out why, and I can't. All of the bytes are there, everything looks normal, but it won't work. I've decided to go ahead and send a replacement CD to everyone who has already ordered ethnic cleansing. If the first one you received worked, then good, now you have 2. If not, then I apologize and replacement should arrive in 3 to 4 days. I guess some things never change in this industry. Anywho, the game was made with the Genesis 3D game engine, an engine that would power such games as Catch Coochman, Ominous Horizons, and Special Force. The latter being a game about the South Lebanon War and was developed by Hezbollah, a terrorist organization out of Lebanon. This engine just couldn't stay away from degeneracy and weird-ass groups making their own propaganda, could it? Now, this is the part of the video where I would love to set the brightness low and put on an iceberg channel voice and say, "This game is lost media, but all attempts to find it have come up empty-handed." But unfortunately, we live in the real world, where games like this can be seen and archived as national treasures to some people. I was able to find a copy of this game on the Internet Archive and decided to risk my computer and some of my mental sanity to play and review this game for you all. Enjoy! Installing the game is easy enough. Just click on the setup.exe and if you do not wish to install ethnic cleansing, please exit now. Well, I'm very happy they gave me the option. Thanks for watching, guys. Okay, I've already gone through this rabbit hole long enough. It's time to finish this. Choose your install location and install the game. I instantly got jump scared by these icons appearing on my desktop without the installer telling me it would do that. But let's just ignore that and launch the game for now. When launching the game, we get to choose what kind of graphics API we want and some resolution settings. Clicking play leads to... We're already off to a great start. Once we get past the launch issues and finally get into the game, we see the goofiest main menu screen in video game history. There's a PNG of an M16 next to random bullets that don't even line up properly. Also, we can see our main character, Will. You can actually also play as a skinhead or Klansman, but the option to do this is broken because you can't launch the editor to change your character. Not like that's a loss or anything, just an example of how poorly programmed this game is. Speaking of poorly programmed, let's talk about the game itself. Now, as soon as we spawn in, there's a major issue. I can't move my character. I'm pressing W and nothing happens. At first I thought the game was broken, but after pressing every button on the keyboard like an absolute madman, I made a terrible discovery. Now you see, in every PC game you use the WASD keys to move. It's been a staple of every PC game since the late 90s. Games like Quake, Half-Life, and even Doom use these keys. It's the most ergonomic layout for FPS games, but the glowing brain geniuses over at the National Alliance decided that it was a great idea to make their movement keys S to go forward, Z to strafe, and X to go right. Now you may be thinking, but hey, there's an option to rebind the controls in the options menu. And for that, you would be right. But yet, another example of bad programming. You can't change them. It's broken. I've tried clicking once, twice, 3 times, 7 times, banging my keyboard, but I don't know how to change it. Maybe I'm missing something at this point, but I don't really care enough to change the settings in this game anymore. Continuing onward with the shitty controls, we spawn into a house with 0 furniture. I guess white supremacists don't believe in comfort. As well as the worst modeled weapon I've ever seen in my life. Like, what the hell is this damn thing? At first I thought it was a Spaz 12, but with context clues from the main menu and looking at it a bit further, I believe it's an M16. A very melted down M16. Now, to prove even further that this game is garbage, let's look back 5 years prior to this game in 1997. A little indie game, you may have heard of it, GoldenEye. This game also has an M16, yet look at it, it's way better than whatever the hell this is. Ethnic Cleansing's M16 makes GoldenEye's look like Modern Warfare 2's in comparison to graphics. Also, not to mention that it's the only weapon in the entire game. You can't find new ones or pick up the ones from dead bodies. Hell, the game even tries to gaslight you into thinking that there's more weapons in the remapping menu. They let you rebind weapon keys 0 to 9 as if it does something. And to make matters worse, they even let you holster your gun. Now, it does as it says, but if you press the holster button, you can't ever reholster, forcing a game reset. Who designed this game? Damn you, D. Brian Ringer. Damn you! Oh yeah, and during the entire game while you're trying to figure out everything in this game, your ears get assaulted by some of the worst music I have ever heard. Unfortunately, or fortunately I guess, I won't be able to play any of this music for you because I believe it's copyrighted, as well as very racist. But if you want to know what it sounds like, I want you to imagine 4 edgy middle schoolers that decided to start a band and didn't know how instruments worked, as well as the only word that they knew was the N-word. But thankfully, due to more bad programming, the song will completely stop when it's over and not loop. So if you happen to play this game for longer than 5 milliseconds, then that's a positive. However, once it does, you get no ambience or anything else except for footsteps and gunshots. So you may as well just turn off audio altogether in the game and play a YouTube video or something. Or, just don't play this game at all in the first place. Now, if you thought only your ears would get assaulted by this game, your eyes aren't free from the torture either, because look at this piss-poor draw distance. Not even the first Doom had this bad of draw distance. You could put Herobrine on the screen right now and it would pass off of a sighting of him in Minecraft. Yeah, unlike the audio, there's no way to fix it. It's constantly like this and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, this wouldn't be so bad aside from the massive headache you'll get by looking left to right, but enemies can also shoot you through the void and there's no way of telling where they shoot you from. You do have a mini-map, but it's barely a help in this game and it might as well not even be there. Speaking of things that aren't there, an objective! The game doesn't tell you where to go at all. You aren't given any context clues about how to proceed to the next level. You wanna know what you gotta do to proceed to the next level? I know you're gonna say no, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. You gotta go west until you reach a building with dynamite. Then you touch the dynamite to blow open a concrete wall blocking the subway. You then walk into the subway to go to level 2. Riveting gameplay, I know. Once you make it to level 2, you'll go inside the subway, and instead of killing black people and Mexicans, you're killing Jewish people, because the devs really wanted to hit all the Racism 101 checkboxes when making this game. Now that we're in level 2, now is a good time to talk about enemy variety. In every other FPS game, you usually have enemy variety. This can be as simple as enemies having different weapons, like in Call of Duty or GoldenEye, or they can be entirely different types of enemies that attack differently, like in Doom or Half-Life. Now what do you think ethnic cleansing has? That's right! Neither. There's only really one enemy type in the game. Guy with gun. And guy with gun. How about guy with slightly bigger gun? The different weapons you see on the enemies are all an illusion, by the way. It doesn't matter if it's a MAC-10 or a sawed-off shotgun. They all fire the same. One bullet at a time. The only actual enemy variety in this game is, well, the moment you've all been waiting for.
My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's 'cause Jesus Christ is...
Different races. Oh god. There's black people, Mexicans, and Jewish people. They all are stereotyped to high hell as well. Black people make dog panting noises when you're around them, as well as when they're killed they make monkey noises. Mexicans wear a sombrero with a poncho and scream "Ay caramba" when killed. And finally, Jewish people wear a rabbi outfit and scream "Oy vey" when killed. They also do a spin when they die. I couldn't tell you what this means. Maybe it's a glitch. Wouldn't be surprised after all the bullshit this game has. Also, because this map is a subway, it has trains. And yes, you can get hit by them. Ah, so satisfying watching my white supremacist character get hit over and over by a train. But that's not the real point of the game, is it? No. Making our way further, we can stumble upon a bathroom with an ambush waiting. This is probably the only clever piece of level design you'll find in this game. Not that it matters, because there's nothing interesting in here, except for a health pickup that you'll get stuck in the geometry trying to get. That's another issue with this game. You'll constantly be getting stuck in geometry like you're a goddamn Fallout 4 NPC when walking around any corner. And mixed with the shitty draw distance, you're in for a rough time because after all this turmoil, after all this shitty hit detection, glitches, and brain-dead AI, we've made it to the final boss, which is the Prime Minister of Israel at the time, Ariel Sharon, with a rocket launcher that takes way too many hits to kill. Like seriously, I tried plenty of times to beat this game, but this boss seems to be the only decently programmed thing in here, and it will destroy you. After about 4 attempts, I got really close, but on the 4th attempt, I got stuck in level geometry at the underside of the map, and just said fuck it and stopped playing. Here's what would have happened at the end of the game, though.
No better than that. You filthy white dog. You have destroyed thousands of years of planning.
And the Oscar goes to...
So overall, ethnic cleansing is a childish, glitchy, poorly designed, and of course, racist game. It has no saving graces, no reason to exist, and was only made to support a shitty agenda with objectively wrong beliefs. I'm hoping that the only people who played this game were the ones who made fun of it like me, because this game is objectively dogshit. The aftermath of this game was pretty obvious to see coming. The Anti-Defamation League was the game's biggest critic. They would publish an article titled, quote, "Racist groups using computer games to promote violence against blacks, Latinos, and Jews," end quote. In this article, they would say, quote, "Patterned after popular mainstream video games such as Quake and Doom, the game turns racially motivated violence into entertainment. Racists and anti-Semitics are clearly trying to spread their hate-filled vision to a wider, computer-savvy, younger audience through the violent, bloody-strewn world of shoot-'em-up computer games while hoping to make some money along the way. The ADL would even write to the Interactive Digital Software Association, now known as the Entertainment Software Association, regarding the game and its messages. It would actually write back 2 weeks later. Other people would also state their opinions on the game. Wild Tangent, the company that owned the engine to create the game, would renounce the game and say that they had nothing to do with it. William Luther Pierce himself, in an interview with the Dallas Morning News, would say, quote, "The game is just a medium for the message. We don't accept members under 18 years old, but we think even 15-year-olds can begin thinking about the problems in this country, thinking about what they're going to do about these problems when they become adults. We want them to get active. We want them to get involved." However, after 2002 came and went, so did the game. It fell into obscurity where it belonged. Reports say that this game sold less than 2,000 copies, but 2,000 copies sold or no, the game still exists. It served its purpose. Only if it sold 10 copies, it still made its way into the press and news. It got an entire organization to set their crosshairs on, and at the end of the day, that's all they really needed. They didn't need to sell this game like a AAA behemoth. They just needed it to exist, and maybe, just maybe, word of mouth and curiosity would do its job for free. Hell, I heard that this game was racist and bad, so I played it. Yet I like to think that I'm a sane individual with basic IQ, so of course I didn't fall into any of the propaganda. But as good old racist Willie once said, we think even 15-year-olds can begin thinking about the problems in this country. And getting them when they're young is how you gain members, and that's probably the worst part of this game. It's very plausible that this game could have gotten at least someone, somewhere into these garbage beliefs, even if it's the worst game ever made, even if its gameplay is atrocious, and even if the gun looks like this. But one thing I can tell you is, racist ways will come and go one way or another, whether it's self-improvement or death. So let's look at the present and see what all these guys are up to now. Ethnic Cleansing is a terrible game that I've discussed for the past... oh, Jesus Christ. However, this game was made in 2002. Nowadays, we could take some copium and say, this game was just made by AI and it's just a master shitpost. There's no way this is real. Yet, the game has credits, suggesting that real human beings made this game. So I decided to do some digging. First, let's start with the developers, D. Brian Ringer and Bob Hawthorne. Unfortunately, I wasn't actually able to find any information on these guys. The only information I can find is the fact that they worked on this game, so finding the devs is a dead end. If anyone has any more info on them, please leave them in the comments because I would love to learn more. But the people I can find info on are still pretty interesting. Remember George Birdie? Well, he actually had no involvement with this game, but he was the founder of Resistance Records, so he has to be somewhere, right? During the time the game was released, he was in a band called Novacosm, a multiracial band started by George that would sing songs about love and respect. The band would continue on until 2007. After that, he was quiet. Until 11 years later in 2018, where he would start a band named Uberfolk, a band with the man himself, George, and a woman named Kat Weiss. Uberfolk also has a YouTube channel, believe it or not, with some of the most trippy videos I've ever seen in my entire life.
Longer the proud darkness has fallen, stolen the light of the world, will offer to see.
A lot of their music also has in the title, Revolt Against the Modern World. I don't know, maybe Grandpa George is just getting confused again. But what about Resistance Records and the National Alliance? What happened to them? Well, according to the Wayback Machine, Resistance was still in operation at least until 2013. Then in 2014, they shut down. Then in 2015, they were back. They then proceeded to be back for 4 years, trying to sell more racist albums, and then died again in 2019. Never to be seen again. As for the National Alliance, they still seem to be operational. I was able to find their website, and it's nothing but a conspiracy theory mess of a website. Like, for example, a section of their website labeled Our Truths, where they explain the most vague and word salad sentences are said with random stock footage of space and Skyrim and Halo gameplay. What the fuck is this?
Is an abomination, his life a defilement of all life. Thus are men ranked in value. First in value are those with divine consciousness, They are those who walk the path of life with sure foresight.
You know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this all just was a massive shitpost ahead of its time. And of course, what about the geezer himself, William Luther Pierce? Where could he be today? The man who started the entire ideology, where is he right now in 2024? 6 months after the game was released, he died of kidney failure. Thanks for watching.